live. We are going live right now. Patty, good to see you. Thanks for joining. So I'm just checking over here that we are live.
Hi, Patty.
Hi.
How are you?
Everybody, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Hi, Haley.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Maureen.
How are you?
Okay. And we are live on Facebook. Thanks everybody for joining us. Let's wait a second over here. Okay. Welcome back to the vibes afterwards. Hey everybody, happy Thursday, good afternoon. Glad to be here and host this always fun and inspiring and motivating and I call it also efficient, right? Session about art of negotiation, and can be more proud to be with an amazing group of professionals that were kind enough to share their time with us and their skill set and mindset. So I'll go by my Zoom screen order, right? Just say your name and kind of a bit about your background in the industry. Start with you, Maureen Lee.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. My name is Maureen Lee. I have been with Keller Williams for 18 out of my 18 years of being a licensed realtor. Started as an individual, and about 5-6 years ago, started a small team. So I go anywhere between 2 and 5 buyer's agents, depending on the day and the year. I have 2 part-time assistants, and I'm kind of the rainmaker and team lead of that little team. And I work in the South Bay office of Los Angeles. So pretty much my market, kind of on the south side of the west side. So I work pretty much Westchester to Long Beach, as far east as, the 110 freeway. That's kind of our primary markets we, focus on. And happy to be here.
Good to have you, Maureen Lee. And not kind of rainmaker, the rainmaker for sure. I hear more about what you have to add as well. Thank you for being here. And next we have Patty Lopez. Patty, out of the West Side office. Good to have you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So my name is Patty Lopez. I actually just joined KW. I was with EV for 3 years. I've been in the business for a total of 15 years. This will be my 16th, actually. I'm born and raised in LA, and my market is mainly the central corridor between like downtown LA and to the west side, but more focus in Silver Lake, Echo Park, Nella also. And yeah, I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And when I told Patty, she just joined with her team last week and say, hey, do you mind just joining next week? I have this little mastermind. And she's like, sure. She didn't know what she's stepping into.
Yeah, I've never done anything like this. So I'm really happy and excited. And I did bring my partner, who's also my son, Adrian Rodriguez. He's part of my team, and we actually have other people that are thinking of joining under us. So it's pretty exciting. It's a nice new phase after so many years.
Yeah, good to have you, Patty. Thank you. We're going to hear more from you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Doug Schmidt, Doug out of the Calabasas office. Doug. Oh, hold on, you're muted. Let me just unmute you. There we go. Oh wait, Doug, we still cannot hear you.
That was a joke.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I've been with KW basically, my entire real estate career out of the Calabasas office, and happy to be here.
And if you got the concept, Doug is straight to the point. Doug brings some cool insight. He's going to share more about his skill set, and his coach and mentor, one of his coaches and mentors, etc. So it's going to be once again, a fun ride. Doug been doing this, by the way, for a few years for us, always those masterminds and sessions. So what I've done, I did a little bit of a survey out there and asked people, hey, talking negotiations, like what's important to you? Like, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn about, etc. Because it can go to so many different directions, right? And Doug, at one point, share your experience with the negotiations, non-real estate skills, right? Maybe how to get a good deal on the car, etc. But and I made some questions I sent you like a little background, but so feel free to deviate from that and ask questions one another and add whatever you feel like. But the first one I wanted to ask, but whatever order to jump in, is what do you consider to make one a good negotiator? What does it mean?
For me,
fearless.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Being fearless.
Being fearless. Kadi?
Listener, a good listener. I think that's probably my greatest tool, is just really listening to everybody involved, from like the agents to our clients, everybody, inspectors, just really listening to where everybody's coming from and just using that to move around the transaction.
As far as negotiating, for me, it's really understanding the motivation of the other side. What's going on in their world? How can I, accommodate what their needs are? That I feel is, for myself, the best negotiating tool that I use. It's obviously, when we're negotiating for ourselves, that's one thing, but in real estate, we're always negotiating for another party. And so when we really start that negotiating process, we have to start with, it really starts at the first meeting. It really starts at the initial consultation, where you're setting an expectation of whatever the environment is. Because when we go to bat on a negotiation in real estate, you have to set them up for success in regards to the negotiation. And I feel, I pretty much start off any relationship with anyone in real estate with a consultation. And as my team will attest, they're very long. They're at least an hour and a half, 2 hours long. Not only we're establishing the relationship, but I really set up the expectation for the environment of real estate we're in: buyer's market, seller's market, short sales, whatever the case may be. I've been doing this 18 years, so I've seen a couple cycles. So if you set up that expectation with the other side from the get-go and let them know what to expect, it's a lot easier to negotiate on their behalf, right? And it starts with all cash buyers today to zero down buyers. We have it all, right? To a high demand market, to one that might be going down, trending down. So it's really about educating them on the environment that we're in, and setting them up for success from the beginning, not just running out, throwing people in your car and then writing offers and trying to negotiate when you haven't given them that backdrop.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Maureen. What else? Or I can ask you in different way, right? Think about someone that you consider as really good negotiator, right? What kind of some of the attributes, the skill set, the maybe techniques that they use? What is
Confidence.
it?
Confidence. Yeah. Assertiveness also.
When you say confidence, you mean in what way? The body language, or the presentation, or?
The presentation, I think it's just the confidence in knowing what you're trying to get out of the entire negotiation. It's just really just coming across confidently, and it tends to work.
Doug, you seem to agree with the last statement.
Yes, absolutely. It's like I say throw out being fearless. Being fearless is having confidence. It's attacking the situation and not shying away from it, not being attached to the outcome, not being afraid, setting the tone, basically being able to read, react, and respond.
So hold on, you said a few good things. I'm going to break it. The first one, he said not to be attached to the outcome. What does it mean?
It means that we can't control the outside world. We can only control our inside world. Sometimes when we try and control the outside world and we have no power over that, it creates a disaster. And we're not able to be our authentic self in a negotiation because we're letting exterior forces run our interior.
Which complement what Toddy said about, about confidence, right? Or you said fearless as well. Okay, what else?
I feel education is kind of crucial in regards to, what is the driving force in the particular negotiation. And like I said, I always come from a perspective of education. And I think when I'm working with someone, say it's, a buyer seller situation and I'm representing a client, and I think this is the context we talk most about because we're in real estate, is really like, again, getting that other side to respect us and understand that we know where we're educated. We have a background on the market. We understand the motivation, and accommodating that, because a lot of times, we know 50% of our deals these days fall out of escrow because of one reason or another. And if you, come off as a certain, you need to come off confident. You need to come off as you're not afraid. But you also can turn people off by becoming too much of a driver, and you got to know your other side, right? You need to know the disc of the other side so you don't offend them. You don't upset them. I'm trying to keep the words nice and clean for, online social media, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And so when you get the other side to you understand their platform, they understand yours, then you need to go in with, okay, you want to, make this a win-win for everybody, right? So, like I said, right now we're in a very fierce negotiating world, very competitive world. And we have everything from cash buyers to zero down buyers. And the other day I was coaching one of my team members and I said, you can't go into this multiple situation with a zero down buyer who's VA when we're up against all cash and high finance or low finance buyers. I said, you need to tell the story up front, be confident, show them everything they have in regards to that, and try to pull on some heartstring that you possibly can to win this negotiation. And we absolutely did that. We got a VA all zero down VA buyer accepted in a multiple offer situation, which was miraculous. But at the same time, what did we do? We understood the other person was a vet as well. We represented the fact that he had plenty of money that he just didn't want to divest because of our low rates, and given the motivation, hey, we have the money. However, we're trying to be smart investors here, and the cost of money is so low. This is the reason why we're structuring this offer the way we are. And believe it or not, this person, we clicked on a heartstring. We gave them confidence. We were going to close this transaction. We were going to make it as problem-free as possible, as much as a cash buyer can come in and, take it from us. But we definitely had to, show our confidence, our strength in our client, and make them realize it's going to be problem-free on them. We are going to perform just like a cash buyer would, and you're doing a great thing by putting a vet in a home. Because the cash buyer, they have their pick of the choosing, right? They're going to go, and I bring that doubt into them as well when I'm negotiating for someone who's a lower down. Cash buyers can be very uncommittal, where you have a really committed buyer here. And that's important when you're trying to get a deal accepted.
Yeah, thanks, Maureen. Yeah. And as you can see, it's, but also with the way that you're explaining everything in the process, So clearly you have a lot of knowledge, right? Which helps to build the confidence in the process of how you communicate. And by the way, VA, that's a VA loan. We
Correct.
had a lot of session recently about VA virtual assistants. Just make sure that it's a VA loan. What
Yeah,
Maureen
it was a veteran zero down loan. We went up against an all cash buyer and we got the deal.
Yeah. So here's another point, right? You said, which is, I truly believe in that, education, right? That, tell us about this guy named Chris Voss. Who's Chris Voss is?
So he's a former FBI international hostage negotiator.
And what is your relationship with Chris Voss?
Been coaching with him about the past 4 years since he really, since his book came out, and yeah, he started getting on everyone's radar. And he also does master classes as well. So I think he's pretty much a household name nowadays.
Yeah, and I think the first time you were teaching that class was, if I'm guessing correctly, maybe 3 years ago. Never Split the Difference, right?
Yeah.
And if you're watching us, we have a lot of people, by the way, on the Facebook group just watching us right now. So oh, there you go. Thanks. Thank you for adding that. Never Split the Difference, right? Chris Voss. So tell us a bit more about that concept, talking about education and high-level training by FBI hostage negotiator.
Yeah, so it's just a whole different world, changed my world. And I was always negotiating. You know, I was came to this planet negotiating. So so it's something that I'm passionate about, and always it's a hobby, you know, something that I'm always studying, reading about, writing about, and just the concept, it resonated well with me, and it made a lot of sense. And it's something that isn't talked about. It's so far off the grid of conventional negotiation, or what Harvard teaches, who's well known for their negotiation courses. So I've embraced it, and I'm still going.
Yeah.
I recommend anyone who has never heard of Chris Voss before to get onto YouTube with him and watch some of his videos. You'll learn something guaranteed that you can use in your business. Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm just typing the name over here. It's double S, right? VOSS.
Yes.
So thank you guys for sharing that. Yeah. And I remember when we studied that, I'm still using some of the techniques myself today, right? Do you want to share just a couple of those, just the basics of the techniques that Chris Voss is teaching that you value the most and you utilize on a whatever basis?
Right. So the concepts, there's some basic concepts, and they're very simple in application. However, in theory, in practical use, though, they're highly complicated, and timing and everything is so crucial. And I would say, basically, a lot of it's like tactical empathy and emotional intelligence. I mean, that's what it's based around. And it's really, instead of convincing and persuading, it's really throwing that away. Like, one of the things that we're into now is not convincing, is not persuading, is like, for example, going to a listing presentation, don't bring a book, do it without a book. Now, that may sound completely different than what everyone's used to, but those are some things that we're doing. And there's the fool and the favorite. So either when you go to an appointment, whether it's a buyer or a seller, you're either going to be the fool or the favorite most of the time. So you got to find out, are you the favorite? If you're the favorite, you're in. If you're the fool, then they could be using you for their own due diligence, for example. They might have you on an appointment, let's say it's a listing, and you might say it went really well. And you bring all these things, you give them lots of value, and then they just, you leave, you say, gosh, that went really well. I was there a while and everything was great, and you didn't get the listing. And that's a real common thing. So one of the things about being fearless is recognizing that right up front and addressing what Chris says, all the elephants in the room. Get it out early, get it out up front. You know, for example, if they talk about commission, tell them my fee is 6%. You know, I'm a full service, full fee agent. I keep 3.5 and the buyer's agent gets 2.5. It's probably a deal breaker for you. And then let them respond.
Yeah.
You'll know right away.
And if you notice, Doug, his video didn't freeze. He was pausing after he was asking the question, which is part of the technique, right?
Effective pause.
Right, because like, wait, am I supposed to respond, or maybe I should respond, right? That's part of the art. So whoever's watching, try to get those little pieces between Patty, Doug, and Maureen about how they do and how to go about stuff. It's part of the you learning what we trying to give you, right?
And also, if you don't say anything, your counterpart will come to save you. If there's too much awkward silence, they'll come in and most likely, you know, if it's over 4 seconds, then I'll come in just because they're playing a game. If they're collaborative and that's what you want, if somebody's hiding things, you know, they say, well, what do you think my home's worth? They know. They're just pumping you for info. And if they'll tell you, you say, well, you know, certainly you've probably checked on the internet and so forth. And if they're collaborative and they tell you these things, then that's a good sign. If they don't want to talk to you, they just want to hear what you have to say, that's a bad sign. You're probably the fool.
Interesting. Good point.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time getting ready and prepping for a listing appointment when you can get all this stuff out right up front. And also too is what Chris calls proof of life. Anybody hear of proof of life? So proof of life is, for example, you say, you know, somebody call you up and they want you to list their home. And so one thing you can say to them is, well, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you very much. Out of all the realtors out there, why would you want me to represent you in listing your home? And let them answer. And if they, yeah.
No, I'm saying most likely they're going to give you the good reasons that they're, you know, like a confirmation of some kind, no?
If they defend you and legitimately defend you, then that's a good pathway to know that you may be the fool. Of course, there's a few other, I mean, the favorite, excuse me. There's a few more things to qualify. If they defend you strongly, let's say from the get-go, say, well, you know, you were highly recommended by so-and-so, and I've seen what you've done here, and I really like your track record, blah, blah, blah. There's a good chance you're the favorite, not the fool.
Right. Yeah, good points. Patty, how do you handle objection when it comes, you know, same line of commissions, because I know it's a hot topic all the time, right? How do you go about that once again when you come across the commission objections or what have you?
I have really learned how to overcome that and just go for the 6% commissions through, again, just confidence and really conveying my self-worth to the service that I'm going to be providing. So a lot of the time, you know, unless a seller is, you know, short with whatever it is that they need to go and do, you know, once they sell their home, then I work with that. But for the most part, the way that I've learned to handle it is just by really being very confident in how I sell myself to my clients. And more often than not, there's no pushback or anything like that. But I think that that's really been my way of working through it, is just within myself and just knowing, being confident in my service and my knowledge, my experience, my negotiation, and really getting it done. So, you know, that just kind of has filled my own little bank account with all of those experiences to be able to deal with that.
Thank you, Patty. What other ways do you find in your journey, right? I would say, efficient or have good ROI on improving your negotiation skills? Now we had awkward silence for more than 4 seconds.
I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not sure of the question exactly, Meny.
So my question was, what other ways, oh, I love the dog. So what other ways do you have to recommend to whoever is watching us to improve your negotiation skills? You can say, hey, there's this class, this course, this book, or practice in a very specific way.
Well, number one, if you're practicing with your client, if you're practicing in your live appointments, that's a really bad thing, because that means you're practicing on your clients, right? We say that in all the Ignite courses and everything when we're training new agents. If you don't have your presentation down, you need to practice that with other people, and practice it, with your dog, your kids. If you don't have individuals, practice on Zoom. And also make sure you are fully confident with backing up your materials. And we now have everything digitally, of course. We have a lot of consultations, all on Zoom, and, being very, very educated on your presentation and the statistics that you're going to discuss. Just as Patty said, going in with tremendous confidence and knowing your numbers, knowing your information, having a rebuttal for every challenge that comes up, and being it's going to totally make you more secure and tighten your experience in all this. I remember one time I was coaching a gal that wasn't even on my team. We were in a bowl together, and I said, "You are so beautiful. You look scared all the time I see you in the office." I go, "You need to smile, and you're gorgeous when you smile. When you don't, so I made her practice her listing presentation with me twice, smiling all the way through the consultation. And she just I feel like it in so many ways changed her light, she was always very serious and very, head down. And I'm like, you need to lift your head up. You need to smile. The information. You look scared. So you can't be scared. And a lot of people go into appointments scared, especially new agents, right? Because they probably don't know the information well. So when you're really practicing, and I'm not saying that everything that you're doing is not correct. It's just that if you do it 5 times or 10 times, you're going to master that. And I think a lot of times people go into their appointments scared or not prepared, and you have to be overly prepared.
Yeah, good stuff, good insight, Maureen. Thank you. But by the way, sometimes be overly prepared can also be a disadvantage, right? And one of you said it well earlier, just be natural, you with the confidence. It usually works best. What else? And on a side note, you saw when I first asked the question, they're all silent. So sometimes maybe you ask the question, maybe they didn't understand what you're saying, especially if you have an accent. So be aware of that too. Dad, what else do you, from your experience, what would you recommend for the beginner or for the advanced realtor out there? How to improve their skill set?
Definitely practice everywhere you go. Everywhere you go is a platform to negotiate, and it's a perishable skill. So if you're not doing it daily, you're not going to be sharp.
Daily?
Correct. Nice mirror.
And it doesn't mean you're not being authentic just because you know the information well. I think a lot of times, especially with new agent, our panel here has a lot of, awards and volume and, years of experience. And when you're going into it, as a new agent, those you hang your hat so much on those. And I always try to tell my students that I'm teaching is that no one's really going to ask. 99% of the time, nobody asks me about how many homes I've sold, what my volume is, how, etc. And I'm like, unless you bring it up, they're not even thinking that. They're thinking about themselves, and they're thinking about how can you help me get top dollar, whatever the case may be, for this home. And you obviously have to come in with your value, and you have to be able to communicate that properly and professionally and well. But there's obviously a lot of tactics you can utilize to, sell. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I listened to Ben Kenny on stage at Camp Family Reunion with Gary Keller, and he got up there on the stool, straight face, no, you're like trying to read his personality, because I'd known so much about Ben Kenny, and he got up there and says, I really don't like people. And I was like, what? Because he's like, I really don't, he was so candid, but then, he told his history, and it's like, everybody's going to be attracted to certain people. Certain people are going to love Patty. Certain people are going to love Doug. Certain people are going to, connect with me, or whatever the case may be. But you have to go in with that, that perspective is, you're there for a reason. They asked you versus the other 10,000 people and, agents in LA. You're there for a reason, and go in there with that attitude.
So here's a question from Leila. She's asking, when I approach my friends on selling their home, they expect me to give them a discount. What's a good response when they ask for a 4% commission?
Well, I'll just tell you what I say. Got some bad news for you. Always, like, Chris always say too, come in with the bad news first. And
why is that, by the way?
Sets the tone. I've got, that's a tough question though. And a lot of times with friends, so that is, in all fairness, that's a tough one of the harder ones. However, on other ones, when you say, well, I've got some bad news for you, say it's somebody you just met and it's a commission thing and they're wanting something lower, you can say, oh, well, I've got some bad news for you, and perhaps it may even be a deal breaker. Although, the fee is 6%, and then, go in with, my fee is 3.5%, and we pay the agent that represents the buyer 2.5%, and then pause. But that's the standard thing. And then that way you can, again, read, react, and respond. So you can hear what they have to say, and then you can read their feelings, their situation, and then respond accordingly. But let them talk. Like, we have to hear what they have to say. Because if they want you, they want you. If you're the favorite, you're the favorite. If you're the fool, get it out early. They just might be testing you. But again, if they're real close friends, I mean, it's a little bit different. However, how many here on the panel, right, have known people that are friendly and they went with somebody else? That's happened to everybody, right? Mm-hmm. It's part of it. And so, but yeah. And again, it depends on what your standard is. If you're a 6% agent, then you're a 6% agent. You're not a 5.5, you're not a 5, you're a 6% agent. So a lot of it is your mindset. Like, what's your standard? So if you're kind of all over the place, then it's going to be harder to get 6%. Although I will say this, I can show everybody on the panel and in the audience how to get 6% every time, if they're interested.
Let me check for a second. Yeah, we got like 2 likes. Yeah.
Okay.
Panel too.
So yeah, so you want to know how to get 6% every time, guaranteed?
Sure.
Never take a listing less than that.
That makes total sense, by the way, mathematically.
Yeah. I mean, it's a joke, and it's also serious. I mean, it's a standard, it's what kind, again, like Maureen was saying too, it's knowing, who are you? Like, what are you all about? And if you're always generating and you've got a pipeline, then you don't have to worry about it. The thing is that when scarcity kicks in, and that's where that fear kicks in, people get desperate. And that's bad news. Those aren't good ingredients for an outstanding negotiation. Because it becomes, right? It's for your needs, not the client's.
And sometimes it's okay to say no, right? When someone's asking to compromise your value, and you know that there's someone out there that your time, energy, and effort is going to be compensated properly for, it's okay to say no. I had a situation last year. I listed this woman's home, sold it multiple times. COVID freaked everybody out. She wanted to delay, and this is someone I had, done the concierge service where spotted her funds to remodel her house. I, staged her home, it was a full commission. And then, she asked out of the kindness of my heart to get her out of a contract. And I did. And I let her, I totally understood. And she called me a couple weeks ago and said, guess what? I really want you to represent me on the buy side, but I found someone that would list my house for 0.5%. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And there was nothing. I was very gratified to say, you know what, do what you must do, but that is not something I'm willing to do. And I have absolutely no interest in representing you on the buy side, because what's going to stop you from trying to take advantage of all of my education services and all this of myself and my team? And when I hung up that phone, I felt so good. It was, it's hard to okay, I'm not going to make that money back and all that energy and effort that I have already given her, but I'm not going to give her any more. And sometimes the best negotiation is to walk away from the table and let them learn their lesson. And, you go on and live your life and work on the next client that does value you.
Yeah, and good job. And I love you when you guys are actually sharing, real stories and experiences, because it's kind of helps to better understand the point of it. And I'm not sure how many years ago it was that you actually helped her with the concierge, but on a side note, whoever is watching, and we brought it to our companies a couple of years ago, and it's super powerful, especially when you utilize it properly. We enrolled the concierge program. It's a third-party company. And the beauty thing about that is that the seller, so from our experience in the last couple of years, we always sold all the properties for more money, and we had 0 cancellations, because the seller will think twice before canceling the 6 or 12 months contract, because they have to pay right away to the concierge. So thank you for sharing, Maureen, because it's just to show agents that there is good solution for that. You have it if you're part of our offices.
Well, for 10 years, I've already had the Maureen Lee concierge service at different tiers and platforms. And you talked about commission. It's like, I get 6% when I'm doing my full service concierge, whatever. And I've gotten my clients 50, 60, sometimes $100,000 more. It was not with a third party, how it was with myself and my ability to do that. And it's that you can't do right away. If you're a new agent, this is a fabulous tool where if you don't have the resources that, I got reimbursed for everything, but in regards to that, but the point being is you have to have a way to offer more value. If you are going to get that 6%, you need to make sure you are worth it, because someone right behind you is coming in saying, sure, 4%, no problem, I'll sign here, right? So you have to bring that value and that, whatever it is. And I held myself back from saying experience. You need to bring that value, whatever that is for that client. If you're going to get 6%, you just can't walk in and say, I don't know anything, here's 6%, sign here, right? So you have to have that lined up and have the confidence to really communicate it.
Yeah, and that's another part, by the way. You touch a whole different technique some agents are using. They have tiers of commissions, right?
Right.
Oh, you're asking for percent. Well, I do have, but blah, blah, blah. However, for the 6% or the 5% or the 6%, and which makes more sense, right? I think we had the, Patty, I think we spoke about it, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is like just really so important to communicate to these sellers when they do talk about, oh, well, there's so and so that's going to do it at like 4% or whatever. You know, I've learned it's so bad for your business to reduce yourself down to what someone else is willing to bring themselves down, you know, to like a 4%. It's terrible for your business. I've learned some very hard lessons along the way. And I think I actually enjoy when someone does say, well, can you do it for 4? This person will do it for 4. And then I just give them all the reasons why, no, I'm not going to do that because, you know, again, I'm not a discount broker. This is what I bring to the table. And it's more about making sure that their goal is met at the end of that. And you don't want to compromise that. It's kind of like asking for a discount, you know, to a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon, you know, when they're getting ready to operate. It's like, who would do that? Like, no, you don't do that. So I've learned to not even go there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So besides commission objection being one of the best parts, your most favorite part of negotiation of the transaction, what is, if any, part of the transaction buyer-seller is your most exciting, if you may, part of the negotiation? That's like when we bring your Chris Voss, right? All in, and you're like, I got this, and you're just having fun with it. What is it? Which part?
For me, I think it's when, let's say, if I'm a buyer's agent and I get a counter that says no reductions or credits will be issued or whatnot after our inspection. And then once we get to that point, it's hitting them with a reduction or a renegotiation at that point and actually getting it. I love that. So, and I sometimes, you know, and it's like I've learned that, yeah, they can say that they're not going to give us any credits or reductions. They won't be entertained in any sort of way, but it's like once you're in, you can still go and try. I just closed a deal a month and a half ago with a client where it was a very competitive market and we had to overbid and do all of this and, you know, but the agent was very adamant. He's like, no credits, no reductions or anything like that, right? And we were able to get another addition, a reduction. And so they were very happy. But that's, to me, that's my favorite part. Well, one of them.
Yeah, which usually is also the most challenging at times.
Yeah, because it's either make it or break it, yeah. But you always have to prepare your client, you know, for like, this is what you can try, this is what we're going to try, this is what, you know, is going to happen. And then at that point, you can decide whether we're going to go forward or we're not, but we'll definitely try. So it's just a matter of structuring it all. And it's just the language that goes into all of that. Yeah, but it's nice when they're not expecting it and you are able to get that reduction. It's such a great feeling.
I'll speak up if you're Doug. I keep waiting for you, and I keep thinking of things. My favorite part is like, say, you know, right now I think my team went up against 40 offers the other day, 29, 30, whatever, and you know, came in second place or third place, and you know, a lot of times your clients can't compete with all cash if that's all they're really focused on is obviously the highest offer in all cash. What is very rewarding, and I really coach a lot on this, is when you're working with the other side, I really love building that relationship with that other agent, regardless. Maybe we didn't get that. I've been on the buyer's side rejection so many times. And so I totally understand how much work it is to show homes, to write offers, to be at your client's beck and call morning, noon, and night, right? And so to stay in favor with that listing side and build that relationship with that listing side, maybe I didn't get the deal, but again, so many deals are falling out for whatever reason. And to be the first person they want to call, right? We have been last year in 2019, especially. We weren't the first deal that got accepted, but we were the second, and fell out. We probably had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 deals, in the last year or so that we were called upon because of the building of the relationship, the follow up, and sometimes. One time I was number 1, I was top of a stack of 17 offers. I wasn't the best, I wasn't the highest, I wasn't the most financed, but I had a great rapport with the listing agent, and they said, hey, this guy's going to fall out. You just want to be that first phone call. Now, if you come out, with gangbusters and you're really bold and you kind of are that personality that the listing agent does not want to deal with, they're not going to call you, even if you're maybe the second best offer. They may go to the person they like better and say, hey, can you meet these terms of the top offer that's going to fall out? And that's really rewarding. And so, it's really tough being a buyer's agent out there right now. I know it. And I don't know what market's not. And I'm a buyer right now for myself in some markets. And it's just like getting that other side to really want to work with me. And if I'm not going to be number 1, I'm going to be number 2. Even if my terms aren't there initially. So, because sometimes there is no second place, right? It's only that top offer. But if there is, I want to be the person that they want to come to next, whether if I'm at the top of the stack or the bottom or the middle. And just the follow-up and like the emails, put it in your calendar, follow up with that agent, day, when is your contingency up with this buyer? Okay, I'm going to check in with you right before that's up. And just like, send them a thank you note, even though you didn't get the deal, and just be someone. And in fact, I'm not doing this unauthentically. I'm doing what's best for my client. And believe it or not, some of these agents I've become really good friends with, I never got the deal. Some of them even came to Keller Williams because they just, we got into a relationship. So it can be a win-win sometimes.
Yeah. I love the fact that you put emphasis on building relationship. I think it's huge, and thank you for that's a whole different mastermind, by the way, right? Which is like maybe the topic, how to survive in this industry for more than 25 years or even 10 years, because relationships are so
without
crucial.
Dying or coming up with like a stress release disease.
One of those things. Because it can be a very, very cold, cutthroat industry, or it can be a very personal, helping one another, building type of relationship too. So good insight. Doug.
I think that Maureen touched on a lot of great points. One thing that I wanted to jump in and say when you were talking about energy being spent on a bad deal, something that for example, Chris will say is that no deal is better than a bad deal. And it also says too that the more value you provide, the less valuable you become. So, for example,
can you explain that one?
I'm sorry, I can't.
I insist.
Okay, if you insist. Which one?
The more value you provide,
yeah,
less valuable you become.
Right. So probably, at least all the realtors I know, myself included, before, have provided more value than need be, and then there's either don't get, I'm just going to use a listing. You don't get the listing and they just shopped you, or they did their due diligence using you. So it's like, why go through that? So again, find out if you're the favorite or the fool. And if you are the favorite, then, like I would say, well, I'll go ahead and collaborate. I'll give you, I'll let you know what needs to be done. However, we need a commitment first. Because I'm not going to, no more. I mean, well, it's been years since I've done that. I'm just saying, there's so many things to do in life, so many enjoyable hobbies and things you can do with free time than trying to chase something that's not going to be yours. And experienced agents know what I'm talking about, right? Like,
well, the the example that comes to my mind is when a newer agent listing appointment, the seller says, so what would you do with this house, right? That's my favorite part of real estate, is transforming someone's, home into a masterpiece that, shows up online like a museum. And that is my specialty. And I love doing it. So it took me a while to like hold that information back before I gave all that information. It's like, you know what? Once we get going and sign the listing contract, I will come back. We will go room by room on what my recommendations are. And when you're ready for all of that, I have a staging sheet that we will go over for each room to help you get top dollar for this property. But you're right, Doug is 100 spot on. You just throw everything out. Now I tell them that I will do that. That's my value in my appointment, but I don't go and do it for them. And in the beginning I was like, oh sure, I'll tell you everything. And this is my referrals, and these are my handymen, and these are the guys that are going to help you. And then I lost the listing to someone else. It's like, oh, thank you very much. They went with the cousin that gave them 1%, right? So absolutely.
Yeah. It feels good though, right? Like that. And that's again, when at the beginning of this mastermind, when I said fearless, it's really about being fearless, right? I mean, there's a lot of things, right? You have to have self-confidence and all that stuff, but being fearless is saying, hey, you know what? I'm happy to do that for you. Not until we have a commitment. Not caving in because of whatever it is, lack of self-confidence, being desperate financially, whatever the case may be. And it's holding to your standards.
I think it's also kind of connecting everyone's intentions. I have found that I work best with people who we all have that same intention to get the job done and be equally beneficial to everybody. But it's really just being completely transparent, communicative, all of that, that just really brings, as Maureen was saying, the building the relationship with agents, because you're being completely transparent, because you're communicating. I think that's like one of the most important things also when it comes down to beginning that negotiation process and just building the relationship throughout the transaction. It's just that transparency, intentions, aligned intentions, and communication.
Yeah, and one of the things too is, again, is your counterpart collaborative, or are they closed up? If they're collaborative, truly collaborative, that's a good sign. If they're playing their cards close to their chest, for example, there's things to do to find that out. And those are all landmines that are, if you know how to identify them, you're going to free yourself from having misery later on.
Yeah.
And so, for example, I'll share a story because you guys have been sharing stories. So just took a listing. It's second day on the market today. And I'm actually showing it. I just took a break here to be here. And, it's crazy, right? We're booked, from morning till night. And the more that when these offers come in, the more that I can get these agents to tell them, well, hey, if you want to at least, whatever it is, I'd change this, or I'd remove this contingency, or ask for this many days of escrow, or something like that. The more hoops that they jump through, the more committed they are. So I give them hoops to jump through, because I know that if their clients truly enjoy it or like that property, that they're gonna willingly do that. And that's how I know during the. My ringer was off, right? You didn't hear that?
Another showing for 3 p.m., Doug.
Well, I turned it off, but the computer's going. And anyway, where was I? Something about the more committed they are, and the more that they're willing to do. That's a great way that I like to go into the request for repairs and all that, and how to set the tone. And I welcome to them to ask for whatever they want. Get that. That's all great. But how are we going to handle it? So I have a better idea of that particular buyer's agent and that buyer, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So what did they do before that point, right? Were they collaborative? Did they change that, whatever, and remove that contingency? Were they okay with that? Were they okay with rewriting this, right? Because, you know, you don't want to be doing 30 counter offers. Like, who wants to do that? It's not necessary anyway. So get them to do the heavy lifting. And when you do, that ensures the as much as possible anyway, you know, the second phase of the negotiations, the request for repairs and so forth. The other thing too that I'd like to add is that on this particular listing, it was, you know, it's 6%, right? 3.5, 2.5. And the seller, this is, you know, before it was listed, she tried to get me down to at least 5 again. She was relentless. Also, she's a CPA. So she's all about money, right? You know, if any of you dealt with CPAs. And so I just stayed firm. I was fearless. And I just said, it's still, you know, it's 6. But she goes, well, I know somebody will do it for 4.5. I said, well, if there's people who do it for 4, you should call them, you know? And the thing is if she went with those people, that's fine. I knew I saved myself, but she chose me at the 6. So I knew I was the favorite. And then I don't have any pushback. The house is spotless every day before she leaves. It's clean. She's doing everything that she should do, everything that I ask. And that's what you want, somebody that's collaborative.
Mhm.
And just to complement on what you said as well, remember that sometimes you're dealing with someone that she's also a good negotiator, right? And maybe what she's looking to get is just confirmation over and over and over again, affirmation that, you know what, I want to pay him the 6%. I just want to make sure that he knows that he's worth the 6%.
Thank you for that. And that, I know we're running short on time here.
Welcome.
That's super important, because that's the thing is it's, you know, you can throw out, like, you guys familiar with labels? Like Chris Voss introduced the labels. So it says, you know, you could say it sounds like you want somebody, you know, who's going to negotiate hard for you. How am I doing? You know, ask them. I mean, it's a simple thing, but let them talk. They'll start divulging information, and it'll give you a good indication of yeah.
No, you mentioned labels, so yeah, it sounds like, it feels like, it's right.
Yeah. So instead of like me, I, well, I do this, I do this, I do this. You know, it sounds like you're looking for an agent who will net you the most amount of money at the close of escrow. Yes, that's right. Rather than, well, I do this, I do, you know, you want to get that's right. You want to get that's right. And then instead of trying to lock them in, and also the no setups, or I love those, you know, would it be crazy to think that I'd be the agent of choice for you? No, that wouldn't be crazy. You know, but when they say yes, you do want me to be your agent, don't you? And they say yes, it might be a counterfeit yes. It might not be a real yes. They feel scared. Yes is a trap. And when they keep getting the yes, like the old school type of negotiation, a lot of times there's problems because they didn't know how to say no. And like we have, you know, those laws in place now, you know, how many days is it even in real estate? A few days, or when you buy something, right? You have like what, 2-3 days to return it. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Or more, yeah.
More, yeah. Anyway, so that's you know, all those things are important.
Yeah, good stuff. You know, yeah, I know that we hit the 3 p.m. mark, but before I'm gonna let you guys know go, any other kind of just notes or remarks that you want to add? Good session, guys. Thank you.
The only thing is, I would tell the Orange Sisters story if I have it like 2 more minutes.
Go for it.
Okay.
That's always a good story.
So this is because I heard the term win-win come out, and win-win negotiations are possible. They're rare. They're a lot rarer than we think. Sometimes we get out of a negotiation, we think it was a win-win. Later on, we find out it wasn't. So I'll tell you the story of I'll call them the Orange Sisters. There's 2 sisters, and they're close. I mean, they get along really well. They're close in age. They're in the kitchen. of their house, and they both lock their eyes onto an orange, and they both go to grab it simultaneously, right? One sister says, "Oh, that's my orange." And she says, "No, I want the orange. No, I want it. I want it." So like they're back and forth, and it's really getting heated. And keep in mind, these sisters usually get along really good. So one sister says to the other, she says, "You know what? Hang on, I have an idea." She said, "Why don't we go ahead and take the orange and we'll cut it directly in half. You get half and I get half. And, that way, right?" So they cut the orange in half. One takes half, the other takes half. Perfect. It's a win-win, right? Well,
sounds like it.
Sounds like it, yeah. So the next day in the hallway, the two sisters are passing each other, and one sister says to the other, she says, "So what did you do with your half of the orange?" And the sister says, "Oh my God, like I made the most amazing orange juice. I squeezed it, tossed the pulp and just had the most amazing, tossed the peel rather, made the most amazing juice." And then that sister says to the other one, she said, "Well, what'd you do with your half of the orange?" She says, "Oh, I took the pulp and threw it away, and I just took the peel and grated it down for my orange scone recipe." And so they both looked at each other and they realized that one of the sisters could have had twice as much juice, right? Because the other sister had no use for the pulp. And the other sister could have had more peel and perhaps made more orange scones. So the thing is being collaborative is really finding out, going deep, not wide, finding out what the other party needs. And so this is the thing is during a negotiation is go deep, find out as much as you can. And again, when I'll just use the term jumping through hoops, when you've got multiple offers on the table and you see who's collaborative, you get a better indication of how that deal is going to be structured and who's going to be more compliant.
Good stuff, Doug. Makes you think about what kind of half maybe you carrying and who has the other half.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Always make it, and we live by it in our companies. Always thrive to find a win-win. So by asking the right questions, go deep. You're gonna find it, right?
Yeah.
Win-win. Guys, can't thank you enough. Maureen Lee, Patty Lopez, Doug Schmidt, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and for sharing. Amazing session, and wish you all the best. Stay healthy, stay busy, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, whoever's watching.
All right.
Thank you.